Mary Rose, if you could please do roll call.
Councilmember Such,
I'm here, thanks.
Councilmember Garaventa,
I'm here.
and let's see, make sure I've got all the committee members here. Committee Member Coleman,
Here.
Committee Member Toon.
She's here, I saw her.
Mercedes.
She's
Okay.
here. It looks like she's muted.
Here.
Committee Member Duez,
Here.
Committee Member Morales. Is Nathan here?
I didn't see his name.
And Committee Member Roberts.
Sylvia Roberts will no longer be joining us. So she's not here tonight unless she's here as a member of the public. She's decided to leave the committee for personal reasons.
Okay, so
Oh.
I am, for the purpose of the record, Councilmember Such, I am noting that 3 committee members are present at the time, besides council members, with the absence of committee member Morales and Roberts.
Yes. Okay. City clerks. Oh, sorry. Sorry. I'm having a dog issue at 4. The cats get fed and the dog starts to bark. City clerk's report on agenda posting.
The agenda was posted on Friday. I believe it was around 10 a.m.
And we don't have to approve the agenda, right? I never.
No, there are no adjustments to the agenda.
Okay, we're going to move to public comment. And I have I want to read the public comment blurb, and then I have a few comments to make myself. The public may address the committee on any item of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. And tonight, and I'm sorry about this, tonight, we are going to limit public comment for the first part of the meeting to the first 20 minutes. And then we're going to do some of the business that we need to do. And when the hour is up, then we will open it up to public comment. And I'm sorry for those of you who are here and hadn't planned to stay throughout the meeting. And if, hopefully everyone will get to speak. I also want to talk about civility. And it's just a quick note about civility tonight. I'd like to ask that all callers and committee members practice civility. Please take the high road tonight and every night on this committee. The civil discourse in our nation and in our community are deeply disturbing. I don't know how we lost our shared reality, but the solution is never shouting at each other or being disrespectful. Also, please, no swearing or dishonesty. Nobody deserves to be treated that way. Remember, this is a city platform and it is expected that the rules of decorum be followed. Now, to raise your hand, you do that by pressing the participant button at the bottom of your page. I think on some computers it's at the top of your page, but it's a button that says participant. And if you do that, if you look to the right of your screen, at least on my computer, you'll see another button that says it's the raise your hand function. And that's the easiest way for us to be able to allow people to speak in some order. So it looks like there are 26 participants tonight. And Mary Rose, if you could.
I will.
Oh, one more thing I do want to say, and this is to the committee members. Public comment is exactly that, public comment. That means there is no back and forth or interaction from the committee members with the members of the public. So please remember that. And that's after, and now please.
So again, if you have public comment at this time, If you could please raise your hand. Can you hear okay, Colette? Just want to make sure.
Yes, I can hear.
Okay. If you have public comment at this time, please raise your hand using the raise your hand feature. Chris, I'll go ahead and call on the public comment. If you could then, once they've made the comment, lower their hand. Chris is the host of the meeting, Chris Gorski. And then if you're using a phone and you want to make a public comment, you can do so by dialing *6, I believe.
Star 9. It's the asterisk 9, I think. I forgot to say that. Is that correct?
I thought it was 6, but let me make sure. Hey, Chris, is it *6 or *9?
I believe it's *6.
Yeah,
Oh.
I believe it's *6.
I
So
thought
the
I-
first,
Anyhow, go on.
the first public comment we had is Margaret Willits or Willits.
Willits.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, I've been listening to all the recordings of the committee. I have not yet attended a committee meeting in person. This is my first time. And I wanted to start by thanking the City Council for establishing this committee and thanking the committee for their courage and commitment and caring service. In each meeting, you're talking about things that aren't talked about much publicly in this county, and I wanted to thank you. In particular, I wanted to praise Colette Such for her first fierce vulnerability the first day. Her sharing set the tone for the rest. I see racism as a continuum, and Colette modeled realizing that there was a racist tendency in her and figuring out what the root of it was, and both important steps for reducing racism. And I thank her for taking that step of the sharing. I have a concern for process. The first one is simply that the 1 hour time that you have is a really short time for the size of the committee and the types of the issues that you're dealing with. And 1.5 hours, if possible, might help things to work better. Also, just because it's so challenging to share and to work through things, I had a suggestion that, an observation that when you were working on the purpose statement, all the I just figured out why it's not showing. Okay, here I am. All the comments, all the proposed statements of purpose were directed in one place, and then they were, grouped together, and then something came out that people could work with, and that was ultimately approved with some changes. And I felt like that process helped move it forward, and I was really glad for that. And it also seemed to cut out, when there's a lot of sharing, there's synergy, that one person says something and then another person says something and another person says something, and the ideas start building on each other. And I would encourage the committee to find a way to allow for that to happen, as well as for process to move forward. And I know it's a huge challenge. The suggestion I have is
30
to maybe
seconds.
have one time to just share ideas and things, and another time to use those ideas, take the notes from that meeting and move forward as a possibility. And I also just really encourage you to come up with a clear set of goals for the public meeting workshop that you're proposing, so that your facilitator and all of you are clear that you're moving in the same direction and what that direction is. So thank you again for all your work, and those are suggestions that I offer.
Thank you, Margaret.
The next public comment we have from Megan Mills.
Yes, hi, I'm Megan. Thank you for hearing me today. I would just like to echo the previous speaker in that the time of 1 hour every 2 weeks, I don't see as sufficient to do this work. And so really it would be advantageous to the committee and the public to be able to have at least an hour and a half, if not 2 hours, to do this work. And this is long view work. This is not work that's going to happen in a month or 2 months or 3 or even 6 months. This is work that needs time and attention and care. So that's one suggestion I have. And then I wanted to express my support for Colette. I did so in writing, and my support because of the attack that I witnessed at the city council meeting. I can't remember the date, but it was it was in December. The one that lasted till 11 o'clock at night. So I was witness to that. And I would like to express my sincere support for the Social Equity Committee. This is warranted, it is needed, it is actually imperative that our community address issues of social justice, including racism and all of the other forms of oppression that exist in each and every community on this planet. So, and then finally, I would expressly like to call for the resignation of Darren Duez. I found his behavior reprehensible, unprofessional, and it was very uncivil. So I cannot support someone who clearly has an agenda that is in direct opposition to the goals of the Social Equity Committee as expressed by the committee's mission statement. And those are my comments. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thanks, Megan.
Okay, the next public comment we have is coming in from a phone number with area code 305. The last 4 digits are all zeros.
And it is *6 to unmute.
And if you could.
Yes, this is Barbara Dressler. I am the 305 area code.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Again, Barbara Dressler. Recent events have illuminated the destructive effect of lies and deception from leadership in our nation and communities. People die as a result, and the trust and cooperation within our communities disappears. The use of a fragment of councilperson Such's statement at the December 21st council meeting intended to twist her meaning and criticize her for sharing the revelations of a childhood trauma is an example of the use of these lies and deceptions in our community that is not acceptable in open session of our local government. I would ask Mr. Duez and his cohort, Mr. Black Guy, if they would consider how recounting a traumatic event in their childhood would infuriate them if a fragment of a sentence was used in public session by those intent on demeaning their trauma and their true meaning. Mr. Duez does not understand that his twisting the truth is instantly confirmed as a lie when viewing council member Such's statement online, and only exposes his true intent, which is to disrupt the efforts of the SEC to improve justice for all members of our county. I know there is racism and violence against people of color in our community. I have a former student of color who was assaulted by a Sonora High group, which I learned about from his PE teacher. I have former students of color who would not ride the Sonora High school bus because of harassment, and students who have had vandalism at their homes that is racially based. Sonora High instructors have attempted to mediate racial tensions in their classrooms. The City of Sonora's Social Equity Committee has a very crucial mission to bring racial discrimination to our community's attention because many are not aware of its corrosive effect on our youth and others. Thank you.
Barb.
The next public comment we have is from Pat.
Okay, first of all, I wonder if the city staff would show their video rather than a blank screen when they talk. Appreciate that. And I wanted to ask if, I also agree that an hour for this meeting is way too short. This content is really important and you barely get through anything in 1 hour. Also curious whether you're going to replace Sylvia Roberts, who resigned, if you will be appointing another person to take her place. And I'd like to say I agree with the previous speaker, with Margaret, who in supporting the committee, I think the fact that the city has taken this on is tremendous. It's really groundbreaking, especially for a rural community. And I really want to give kudos to the city council for supporting the Social Equity Committee. I think it is important, you know, some people have talked about focusing on other social problems like homelessness and addiction. Of course, we have the whole array of social problems here, but this committee was formed specifically to address racism in our community. Yes, our community is mostly white. However, racism exists in our country. I think we saw some examples of it recently on the national level. And anyway, I really support this committee. I hope it continues. It's very, very important work. And I appreciate Colette Such's leadership. I think she's done a great job, and I really abhor the attack upon her at the December 21st City Council meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay, the next public comment is 509323.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Hello. Hello, this is Tristan Salietta, and I want to say kudos to the committee. They're doing a bang up job. Darren Duez, heavens, with his conspiracy, heavens. I wanted to mention something separate too, regarding the gratitude and acknowledgements. You might, on the last, there's a last line on the Tuolumne Band of the Miwok Indians webpage talking about their history. And they mentioned that before contact, the population here was around 10,000. And in the 1910 census, there were 697 left who had come down out of the mountains after hiding, and the rest had all been taken care of. That's about all I got to say.
Thanks, Tristan.
The next public comment we have is from Victoria Martinez.
Can you hear me now, everyone?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. I, like Tristan and probably some of the other people, organized the Black Lives Matter peaceful protest in Sonora. And I would like to thank the committee for supporting what we support, which is equality, and also to make the area, the county, aware of what exactly what racism basically is. Because I've been a resident since 1978, and I don't think a lot of people are very aware of the racism that goes on here. So I wanted to show my support for the committee and also my support for Colette Such. I did write a letter to the city council. That was very deplorable what happened. It also is very divisive when you have committees like this that are supposed to be promoting a common cause such as this, to have this separatism, to have instigation. I think it's very imperative, even though you may not see eye to eye, the committee has a purpose that needs to be honored. And definitely I would second Megan Mills' comment to call for the resignation of Darren Duez. I've spoken to him personally on Facebook, and he's not for promoting what the group is all about. And I think that's I would love to see more people involved. I think the committee needs to know what the pulses of Tuolumne County, and we that protest every week see what is going on. We would love to be able to
30 seconds.
We would love to be able to contribute to the Social Equity Committee, because we're in the trenches every week and have been since June 7th. Thank you. I appreciate it.
The next public comment we have is Pablo Lopez.
Thanks. So I just like to reiterate what other people said. I think the committee is important. I think the work is important, and I think it's going to take a long time. In presence of that, I'd like to speak for other people that couldn't make it. I think it would be really beneficial for the committee to expand its time slot, like others have mentioned. Because of the work, the complexity of it, I think it's beneficial, but also moving it to a later time. I know there's a lot of younger citizens that would like to participate, but because it's in the middle of their work time, they're not able to. I think it would be really beneficial to either moving it to a weekend day or a later time, or something to accommodate for kind of the younger base that would like to participate. And yeah, just again, I think this is important work, and I'm glad the Sonora Council is moving forward with this. Thank you.
At this time, Councilmember Such, there is one more comment. We are at the 4:20 mark, but if you would like to entertain the one more comment, we can.
Yes, since there's only one more comment, I think that would be kind.
And the last public comment at this time is BZ Smith.
First of all, I want to also reiterate what others have said about the length of time necessary for this work. An hour is not sufficient. It would seem to me that the 90 minutes would be the minimum. And my next thing that's most important to me is I don't want Derek.
BZ, we're having
BZ,
problems.
we can't hear you.
Sorry. Is this any
You
better?
took your microphone away.
I did.
Yeah.
Oops. Sorry. So I want to agree with those who have spoken out in favor of lengthening the time of the meeting. I think that the work is much too deep and relevant to our overall integrity of our community to not give this the time and attention it needs. Also, I would urge the City Council to consider making this committee a permanent service committee, because this work isn't going to happen quickly. It's going to take a long time to process what it is that leads us to the point where we are at such odds with one another as a community. We've always really worked well to get along and to help each other. But as we've seen during the last couple of years, that has gotten fractured. And my grandpa taught me that when something's broken, the best way to fix it is to look at what's wrong on the inside and repair from the inside up to the surface. And I just want to speak in Darren's behalf. I don't think it's appropriate to ask Darren Duez to leave this committee, especially right now when you look at the faces that are mostly in this room. There are a lot of like-minded people that I know that are in this room right now looking at one another. And we like-minded people, those of us who have gone to the Black Lives Matter movement, those of us who have spoken out for social inequities in our community for many, many years, as a lot of us have. The last thing on earth that we need is to ask somebody who's sitting at the table willingly to help us work on this problem to leave the table. It's just not appropriate from my point of view. And I think the best thing that we can do is, again, just adhere to rules of decorum and the rules of dignity that make the meeting progress along its way. And hopefully we come to consensus and agreement and start to learn a lot about our insides to come to the outside. So I've said my piece. Thank you.
Thanks. At this point, Councilmember Such, there is one other hand raised. You would like to hear that public comment at the end of new business?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Phil Nichols, we will listen to your public comment at the end of new business. So I'm going to keep your hand raised so we make sure that we see you. We've reached past the 4:20 mark. And so we will hear all else open public comment at the end of new business.
Okay. Well, thank you everyone for coming tonight and for commenting, and thanks for your civility, and let's get on with the work. The first there's no old business. The first item of new business is the city's value statement. And it's a city value statement, I believe, was written in 2006. And it's part of the objectives of this committee to rewrite that. Have committee members all had an opportunity to review that and think about how they might alter it? Is anyone?
A little bit.
A little bit. Okay. I don't know who said a little bit, but who was that? Was that Darren? Okay.
Darren.
Okay. I actually pulled up quite a few other value statements, and there are some quite good value statements out there. I don't really feel like the city's is of that group. So I guess should I read it so people know what it, I mean, everyone had it in their packet. So is there a way we could put it up on a white, or, you know, we could share it on the screen? Is that possible, Mary Rose?
Chris, can you share the values? It should be attached to the agenda. Share your screen by any chance, Chris?
Mary Rose, perhaps while we're waiting for Chris to do that, if that's possible. There was one that I just would like that I found that I thought was sort of helpful. And where did it go? It divided, sorry. It divided the value statement into 4 different categories. What we respect, that we value respect by, and then different ways that they value respect. We have integrity by, and different ways that they choose to show integrity. We value customer service, and in different ways that the city provides customer service. And then we practice professionalism, and then showed different ways that one practices professionalism. I thought that made more sense than just sort of a list like this one. But so how do we move forward with this? Our hometown atmosphere and we value our hometown atmosphere and the unique character of our community. If we keep this, I would take out our hometown atmosphere and say we value the unique and authentic character of our community. Does anyone have any comments?
Yeah, I do. I'm not sure that it's really the purview of the Social Equity Committee to rewrite the entire city value statement. I think it's up to us to add well, of course, we're an advisory body, so I think it's up to us to recommend any issues that has to do with social equity as a line into the city value statement, rather than going through point by point and doing a rewrite. I think it's more on the council's to do a rewrite if we want to do a rewrite. I think we should focus on what we're here for and make recommendations to adjust it in the context that we're here for, rather than to make a whole
okay. Well, that's much easier job for sure.
I'd have to agree with Jim.
What?
I'd have to agree with Jim as well. For me, the kind of thing that jumped off of the page is similar to the verbiage that we used when creating our purpose statement. That feeling of inclusivity and belonging for all, and speaking to, from an equity standpoint, speaking to the marginalized in our community, knowing that we value them. I think adding a line or two to the city values, echoing sort of what is in our purpose statement from an equitable standpoint, I would have to totally agree with that approach.
Okay, so can you come up with it? Sorry to put you on the spot.
So let's look at our So our purpose
It's on the
statement,
agenda.
valuing, so belonging, fairness, justice, and equality and equity for all. That's in the first line of our purpose statement. And I think that
That's important.
that is important, and it encompasses so many things. So even just our commitment to belonging, fairness, justice, and equity for all, that seems pretty to the point. If others have thoughts on that, Jim or Darren or Mercedes.
Yeah, I have a couple thoughts.
I think you're correct.
I
Go ahead.
see it as I see it as an aspiration. So I think like Sonora is a city known for his understanding and acceptance of diversity, and is equipped to effectively lead and serve an inclusive, thriving, and healthy community, a safe place where people from all racial, ethnic, and cultural backgrounds thrive socially, economically, academically, and physically. For me, I see it as that aspiration, something that we are always working towards.
Jim, what do you, or Darren, you
Well,
want?
Darren, yeah.
There's definitely things that could add on to this. I'm sorry, my sister's hitting me up with some important information. There's some definite things that could add to this that definitely go along with theirs. I think that pretty much what Nikki wrote down in her statement of belonging is probably something that should be added to that.
Jim?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of writing what I think. So let me, because I'm going to try to fit it in as a line of what the rest of them are. So we value our, and then what the line is, and I'm kind of in the middle of writing that. So go ahead to someone else if.
Okay.
I'm trying to, unless no one else.
Like a little more time to sit down and talk amongst the people that do talk to me. I will say I've met a lot of good people here that don't have the same ideology as me, but they make very good points on a lot of things. And a lot of some of the things that I bring up are from them. I'm not going to stop listening to them. I'd like to see get some outside perspective on some of this stuff before we just go for broke on today.
Do you have an example of something that we might want to, or too soon to share?
A little too soon.
Okay.
So I think I have a line, if you want me to try it.
Yes, please.
Okay. So what I've written down, and it, like I said, these are bullet points, so I'm trying to make it into a bullet point. So what I've written down is our social and racial diverse citizenry and their safety and prosperity. So we value that. So we value our social and racial, it might need to be racially and socially, diverse citizenry and their safety and prosperity.
Can I steal from you there? And can we make that we value everyone's? Because we do. Even if you're coming here as a tourist, I still want you to come here and have a good time.
I think that including the racial is essential. That is what our purpose is.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's, I think that's kind of the point of what we're doing here, is to make sure that the social and racial people on the margins feel safe and prosperous here. So, and it's designed for our citizens, toward our citizenry. I think if you look, I think there's one that on the rest of them was that talks about, or maybe not, about tourist, but I guess it doesn't. But anyway.
I really like Nikki's one about the belonging. I think that should be incorporated somewhere in there because it's our city values. We want to incorporate people feeling, like this is home.
Certainly, it wasn't my understanding that we were excluding that one. I think,
Right.
I
It's
think
not
that's
one or the other.
right.
It's
Just
Right.
adding.
Now, Mercedes, yours was long and I can't remember what you said.
Yeah. So I know. So I said, Sonora is a city known for his understanding and acceptance of diversity. That is the first phrase. The second is, it is equipped to effectively lead and serve an inclusive community.
Did you say it is equipped?
Yeah.
Okay.
Equipped.
I'll put it was equipped
And,
to ... Okay.
Yeah. And the third statement, which not everything needs to be there, of course, are just my aspirations. A safe place where people from all racial, ethnic, and cultural backgrounds thrive.
And cultural backgrounds thrive?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I haven't added anything, and I think it's this value statement is already a whole lot better. So
let me take another shot real quick. How about like I said, I'm trying to do the bullet point, our diverse citizenry and their safety, prosperity, and sense of belonging. So we value our diverse citizenry and their safety, prosperity, and sense of belonging. Did I leave a value out somewhere?
Trying to catch up.
Yeah, I hate to say it. Can you repeat it?
Okay, so let me try again. So we value is the head of the whole thing. So it's we value all these things that are on the list. So my part is our diverse citizenry and their safety, comma, prosperity, comma, and sense of belonging.
I could get on board with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great, Jim.
Yeah, I like that.
Mercedes? I didn't. Did I leave something out?
I don't think so. I think that's really concise.
Because it fits in with what we've got so far. I mean, with what's already existing. So.
Yes. For those that are on the phone, I just said yes to Jim.
Oh, okay. All right.
Not everyone can see, right? Thumbs up.
Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. So it says our racial diverse citizenry and their safety and prosperity and sense of belonging.
I left out the social and racial because I kind of felt trying to make it concise and diverse kind of covers that anyway. I just said our diverse citizenry and their safety, prosperity, and sense of belonging. Now, if you want to add back the socially and racially, that's that just makes it longer.
Yeah, Jim. So one of my concerns is that has been exactly the point of disagreement. And it seems like not using the words racial equity. And it seems like we have been tiptoeing around that long enough. So I really would like that we include something besides diversity. And why I am saying that,
Sure.
where we have had diversity training forever in the country. The only issue is that diversity trainings doesn't address the root of the problems, if that makes sense.
I also
Sure.
think social and racial diversity needs to be in there. I
Needs to
think
stay.
well,
That's
I mean,
fine.
it's
To me,
longer,
that
it's just stronger. I think it's a stronger statement.
So
And-
to
Correct.
say we value our socially and racially diverse citizenry.
Yeah.
Yes.
okay, that's fine. That's works for me.
Okay.
The only thing that would be missing, and I think maybe I think a couple other of these bullet points could probably be combined, but I'll stay in my lane. I think the only other thing that might be missing is it does say our commitment to historic preservation. That feels like places and sites and architecture to me. The only thing that feels like it's missing is valuing historically the people that were here before us. Like we have such a populace of Miwok, and they were here first. And so valuing the history of those people, the history of, I don't know how we word that, and I think we might need a little more time to dive into that, but we're basically saying we're valuing the socially and racially diverse citizenry that are here now. Perhaps another bullet point in relation to history is to honor and to show that we value them too, that history of those people.
I love that.
I just want to remind all of us that we are talking about people that are still here.
Yes.
So it's not like those people that are not here anymore. We are talking about a diversity, racial and ethnic diversity that still here has been growing, but the original owners of this land is still here, as well as the immigrations that came after.
Mm-hmm. For sure. If you think that the line that we just agreed upon kind of includes that, that's okay.
I mean,
can you read it again?
Mine or Nikki's?
Yours, Jim.
Okay. So we value our socially and racially diverse citizenry and their safety, prosperity, and sense of belonging.
You know, Mercedes, I'm not sure that I think that talking about the people who were here historically negates their presence and their presence now. I think there is something to be said about acknowledging first the Miwoks, then the Mexican people who lived here. It was their country, and then and the Chinese who came here, and I personally think that it's it doesn't negate the fact that they're still here for me. And I think there's something respectful, I think, about including that. It just feels like a form of respect.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about that negating that. What I said is that they are still here. That was my comment. And of course that I believe that is very important. If you remember in our first meetings, I emphasized the need for acknowledging the land we are on. So of course that is essential to acknowledge the Miwok.
Right.
Mhm. Maybe we can write a little more for homework.
Right.
Yeah, right.
I feel
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I want a quiet space to think.
So can we leave it there and then work a
Yes.
little more in the crafting part? Okay.
I think that would be perfect. Jim?
Yeah, I just was going to say that's a good idea. A couple things. One is we can take and kind of add Nikki's to mine and then split it in two and make two lines. That might help with the cultural part. We respect our, I'm just a suggestion. And then the safety and prosperity is the second line, so we don't have this big one long line.
Right.
That it doesn't mean we can add more than one line, I guess is what I'm saying. And the other thing is, I think before we move on, we should get the public, see what the public thinks.
Right. Okay. So
because I'm sure there might be some good suggestions in that.
Hey,
so public comment for this item. I know Phil Nichols did have his raised for general public comment, but public comment for this item, 509323. Again, this is public comment for the city values statement.
Are you there? 509323. Go ahead and make your public comment.
Thank you. Because the picture changed, I'm sort of lost. There was a thing about to recognize us as a city. I thought that was sort of embarrassing to have something like that in a public document, to even talk about that. I think you need to review those statements that you've just accepted as being gospel, because I think looking at them, I think there's some in there that really need some revamping or elimination. There's some in there because it looks like a sandbox that children were playing in, and they left these things and went away. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks.
And BZ Smith, go ahead and make a public comment.
Unmuting. I wanted to just make a quick reference to the idea of how we can incorporate the historical and the cultural elements into a statement that is respectful and reflects the long history and the prehistory of the people of Tuolumne County. I just want to mention that throughout the nation right now, particularly in civil governments, there is a process right now called land acknowledgements, where every public meeting that is held begins with a land acknowledgement of who the people were who were on that land first. Everybody who lives in North America knows that we aren't the first people whose feet have trotted on this land, and having the dignity to acknowledge both the historic, to acknowledge first the prehistoric, which would be anything before 1492, when we started having written history on our continent in English, or not maybe in English, but you know what I mean, European recorded histories, and then not only that, but then acknowledging what the fact that looking at our local area, the Miwok have identified back as far as 10,000 years in this area. They were here all the way through a horrible time of genocide. There were 300,000 California Indians when the Spaniards arrived in the 1500s. And at the end of the gold rush, there were 6,000 California people, native people. And yet those 6,000 who carry all the traditions forward from those earlier generations, they are here and they are strong and they are stronger. And we look now to them for guidance and leadership. We look to them for collaboration and for financial support. And that is, from my point of view, is a miracle. My family is Native American. And when I was a little girl and people said to me, well, you're not an Indian, you don't look like an Indian, I could just say, well, I am an Indian. And then they would say, well, what tribe? And I tell them the name of my tribe. And since it wasn't Cherokee, I was told I wasn't an Indian because there was no such tribe.
30 seconds.
Okay, so all I'm saying is, I think the city of Sonora and its subcommittees should look into the gesture of doing land acknowledgement statements at the beginning of each and every one of their public meetings. And then if nothing else, that is a gesture that brings that awareness forward to the broader community. Thank you.
I do have a comment.
Okay, sorry about that. The next.
Oh, go ahead.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did we call on Mr. Nichols?
Well, I think he may have a comment on this item, so.
Yeah, I do, just very
Okay.
briefly.
All right, because we still have more public comments. So I want to make sure that we were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just want to also point out that the history of Sonora, the name itself came because during the 1840s or before that, the large number of the people who settled here were from the Sonora state of Mexico. And that with the gold rush, in order to preserve the gold for the white settlers, anybody that wasn't a US citizen was denied the right to own a gold mine, and so they were driven out. Another part of our history that's actually lost.
Right.
So the next public comment we have is from Pablo Lopez.
Thank you. I just wanted to also say that I think it's important to have specific wording of racial, cultural, heritage, and history in whatever mission statement you guys decide. I think it's important to quote W.B. Du Bois in this, right? There's this idea that for the consciousness of whiteness, right, there is constant physical historical presence in everyday life, but for marginalized groups, oftentimes their participation in what is historical existence is mostly symbolic, and a failure of organized social group to realize those group ideals can be pretty devastating. So I think, you know, if you're going to be moving a mission statement towards social equity, you need to use specific wording, racial, cultural heritage, right? Those are not just words. They represent a very symbolic presence for marginalized groups. And it's a nod to say, yeah, we see that this exists. If you leave the abstract wording of just for everybody or everything, right? That is dismissive, right? That's saying, yeah, there is some and they should be here. But the problem is that that's kind of the consciousness that the US has had for a long time, right? It's like we have social equity, we have everybody has equal rights, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is that they're not, right? That's why this work is here, is to say there needs to be work done to like see those marginalized individuals.
And the next public comment we have is from Karen Wood.
Hi, I just wanted to ask that you look at the word citizenry. If one, it's an awkward word, but two, we have people in our community that are not legal citizens, and I think we want to include them, and that word kind of implies legal citizens, or could be interpreted that way. And I don't have the whole statement in front of me, but you know, you can say community members and visitors, or all people, or something that doesn't have a potential meaning of excluding someone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yes.
At this point, I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay. Did everyone write down all those notes?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Some of them.
Yeah. Well, they'll be on video, so.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. I wouldn't have been writing so much. So I think that was a good suggestion that we kind of take all of this, take the public comments. I think there were some great public comments as well. So, and come up with a replacement for citizenry for sure. I think that's important.
Yeah.
So why don't we take
Yeah.
it home and bring it back to the next meeting, and also perhaps, you know, I mean, I guess it's not our job to. I mean, you know, the objective was sort of vague. It was review and revise and bring it back to the council. There are many things in this value statement that I think is sort of meaningless and probably could be taken out.
I would just like to say, I think tonight this is a really beautiful display of community engagement and discourse and discussion. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly certain this is the most participants that we've had attend our meetings. And I just want to thank everyone that's here tonight. I really love the participation and your guys' willingness to allow your voice to be heard. So this is really wonderful and hopeful for me.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so with that, mission statement and vision statements, you know, I always have trouble with these. I've been on many committees where we wrote mission and vision statements and they never meant anything to any of us. We would put them on the back of our name badges so we would remember them when the accreditation group was there, because we were supposed to have memorized them, but otherwise we didn't ever pay any attention to them. The two that are here were the two that I put in the agendas in the very early days of this committee. They're from the League of Cities. I can't remember where I found them in the League of Cities, but they were just recommended by the League of Cities. And I just put them there because it's much easier to improve on something that's already written than to create something for yourself. And I actually think we need more work with these. And so maybe part of our homework could also be just to kind of look at this as a foundation, but elaborate on it with the things that we've just all expressed that matter to us. What do you think? Does anyone have any thoughts about the mission statement or the vision statement?
I think
I have a couple of thoughts about how to process this. So, and what I would like when we come back in 2 weeks is to be able to see on the screen,
yes,
what we are making, as we have done in past meetings, because it makes easier for us and also for the public to see it and to add.
So are you talking about a whiteboard where someone just...
Yeah, whiteboard or sharing the screen with the, any tool that allow the whole community to see it. Because as Nikki said, we have had so much engagement, and in previous meetings, there has been also engagement. So it's easier when we see directly what we are working on.
Right. It's also, if there's a whiteboard, it's easier if someone, except that that's a hard job for the person who has to do it. But if someone is writing it down, then we can say, no, that's not what I said. So we can really be clear about what's been said and what we want to bring forward. All right. So
what is, okay, so where we go from here then?
Well,
in 1 minute.
I don't, yeah, well, no, I mean, I was talking about the mission statement. So are we, each one of us gonna write something and have something ready, or?
Well,
I don't know what the plan is.
I mean, I don't know. I think that we could make something out of both this mission statement and vision statement. just sort of use these as our template.
One thing
I
that we
got,
did last
oh, go
time
ahead.
with the purpose statement, I think one thing that worked really well when we were writing that purpose statement is we all had a chance to kind of go off and think on our own and write our own, and then we came back and found commonalities. And so I'm not sure with the Brown Act, Mary Rose, how we should handle that, but it would be really cool to kind of move forward quickly on this. Is maybe we take the next week to write, send all of our thoughts to Mary Rose, and then one of us, I think maybe if those are posted publicly, correct me if I'm wrong, Mary Rose, we can then maybe move forward. But myself or Darren or Mercedes, any of the committee members, and I'm happy to do this if you guys want, just to maybe filter out our commonalities and have that prepared for our next meeting, I think I thought that worked really well
So
last
Thank
time.
you. Thank you for saying that, Nikki. Yeah, I think how we did it last time worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
So after Mary Rose was able to share with us each other draft, and so coming with finding the main ideas and bringing that to the next meeting was what really helped us to craft the purpose. So if that worked, let's do it again in that way.
Yeah.
And just like last time, I can volunteer to do it again.
From a Brown Act perspective, I think that's fine. Just have one person filter it to me, and then I can disperse that when we agendize the next meeting, so that it's on for that meeting. I just have to make sure that when it's posted, it's got to be posted at the same time available to the public.
Okay.
So if I'm hearing correctly, and this is kind of what I would suggest, is that basically everyone go over both the mission and the vision statement, have their version, send it to Mary Rose by next Wednesday.
Yes.
By Wednesday.
By next Wednesday, it gets posted in the packet. We have a list of everybody's thing, and then the public gets to see it, and then we go over it at the following Monday meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So don't forget.
Does that make sense, Mary Rose?
I'm sorry, Councilmember Garaventa, but the next meeting, I believe we put agendized was the 28th.
Right.
Which is not is it a Monday? It's not a Monday.
Why isn't it?
The 28th is a Thursday.
The 25th, we have council member goal setting, which would be concurrent with this meeting.
No, I mean, the 25th, we have goals from noon to 4, and then this from 4 to 5, I thought.
Yes, I apologize. Yeah,
I mean, that's a rough day, but I think
it's going to be a really rough day. A really rough day for staff.
It'll be rough for Jim and for me and for you.
Yeah.
And Chris.
And Chris.
So then our meeting would essentially be Monday, the 25th.
Yeah, right, which is when it's regularly scheduled.
Yeah. So
the other thing,
if everyone's purpose and mission statements vision statements are on the website with the agenda on that Friday, the 22nd, I'm happy to kind of work on that over the weekend and put some commonalities together in time for Monday, if everyone's okay with that.
You know, Nikki, I am, but what I would also ask, last time they were put on a table so we could read every single, I think there are only 4 purpose statements, but or 5, but we could see all of them together. And I think that was really helpful.
I can do that.
Yes.
And then
I agree.
And you can also, edit it and do the commonality, but I'd like to see everything unedited on the table.
Perfect.
And actually it didn't have the person's name, which was also helpful.
Exactly. So we are practicing, how to break patterns.
Right.
We have no names, so there are no bias in choosing or moving things around.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. Great meeting, you guys. Oh,
Hang
sorry,
on.
Jim.
I have a concern on having trying to do our goal setting and having the committee meeting on the same day. That's a lot.
You
Because
hadn't.
we're going to be going.
Both of the
Is-
goal settings are on the social equity day. The one in February is as well.
Yeah, but well, still, it's back to back even.
Otherwise, it's another 2 weeks before we have the committee.
We do any type of special meeting.
Yeah, I'm thinking of can we do it on a Tuesday night at 4?
That doesn't usually work for Mary Rose, I don't think. Mary Rose?
If we want to do it on the 26th, I think that would be much appreciated by staff as opposed to the 25th, because I suspect the goal setting is going to be a pretty intense session.
Yeah.
So say that again. I'm sorry.
If, from the sake of staff's perspective, I can make my calendar work for the 26th, if that's okay for the committee members, just because of the intensity of the goal setting. That's going to be a lot of work for staff at that time.
Okay. So everyone is the 26th. Is it the 26th? Is that, yeah, that would be Tuesday. Does the next day, the 26th, work for everyone?
Work.
It works for you, Darren? Okay.
Yes, at 4.
Yeah.
Still? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Jim?
I'm thinking that's not a board day, is it? Board of Supervisors Day? That'd be the 4th Thursday. So yeah, no, it wouldn't be. So it'd be fine. I'll make it work for Lowe's, I guess. We'll figure it out.
Okay, and then maybe at the next meeting, we should talk about the February meeting as well, because the goal setting day in February is the same.
Yeah.
It's also on social equity day.
Yeah, it's kind of fair to do all that stuff and then have this butted up against it. So
No, I was it kind of made me short of breath to see that in my calendar, actually. So I'm happy to not have it. Darren?
I just like to say I had a 3-hour conversation with Tristan the other day, and anybody on here that feels free that wants to call me or contact me or talk to me anytime, reach out. I'm willing to talk, even if you hate my guts and want to call me names, call me.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, and speaking of which, we didn't go finish the public comment.
Oh, sorry.
Which I think Phil is still out there.
Yes, Phil Nichols. Let me just make sure. Is he still on there? Yes.
Yes, I see him.
I'm here.
Mr. Nichols, if you want to make your public comment, go ahead and do that. This would be the general public comment, not on anything agendized.
Right. My comments in regard to the discussion about Darren's membership. Darren, I'm talking to you, but I'm talking about you. I was struck by Darren's self-definition in his introduction that he came from a white trash background. It's very different from saying that someone comes from a poverty background. The notion of white trash seems to me to connote a sense of second-class citizenship, of oppression, of being disregarded and treated badly. And I think two things I want to say about that. One, I think when someone comes from that kind of a background, they can become very defensive. And in any new situation, they can come on very strong as a way of establishing themselves. And I could be wrong, but I think that may have been part of what happened, what transpired in earlier meetings. The second thing I think is very important is that given that Darren come from a background of poverty, that is a very important perspective in understanding social equity. It goes into a person that's discriminated against many times. That leads to stereotyping and racial discrimination. Darren, from the story he mentioned about having spoken in defense of a Black friend of his who was being treated badly, indicates to me that he certainly is not racially discriminatory. But I think that the poverty background is something that's very important, both as a specific class of person in our community. Many people here grow up in a poverty situation, and their perspective, I think, needs to be understood. And I think that's something that apparently Darren, you to this committee. So I think it's very important that voice continue.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. So with that, I think,
Well, I think we should, since we've opened public comment back up, we should ask if there's anyone else
Oh,
still
yes,
out
sorry.
there
any more public comment?
on
Yes, good call.
non-agenda.
Mr. Lopez, I believe you already made a public comment
yeah.
prior to, so
Right.
this is only for those that were not able to make a public comment.
Pablo, check your inbox. I sent you my phone number.
At this time, Councilmember Stetson, Councilmember Garaventa, I don't see any other hands raised.
Okay, thanks, everybody. That's it.